Welcome to DABCC Radio,
where smart people listen.
Virtualization and Cloud Talk,
Featuring cutting-edge solutions from the hottest companies around the globe.
broadcasting from the DABCC offices in sunny Sarasota, Florida.
Surrounded by computers, books, and Legos.
A Microsoft MVP, Citrix Charter CTP, VMware vExpert.
And your host, Douglas Brown.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DABCC Radio. I'm your host for today, Doug Brown. I'm your host for every show. I've never had a second host. We should have a second host. So I am your host, and today we have our guest on, which we always have different guests, a gentleman named Carl Webster, or Lord Webster, you might know him as. And Carl's a CTP fellow. He's been around the Citrix world for a long time. He's a really great guy. He is the creator of many amazing scripts to document Citrix and Microsoft and you name it, plus the writer of many great how-to articles, and just an all-around great guy. So the goal today was to bring him on and talk about, his life in tech, his life in the Citrix world, what he thinks of certain topics, and things like that, where he sees the world going and blah, 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 blah. So with no further ado, let's just dive into it. Sound good, shall we? Okay, we shall. So here's my interview with Lord Webster. Okay, Mr. Webster, let's get going. You ready to chat with me today?
Sure.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you on. So, I've known you for quite some time, right? So, I can't believe you're just now coming on the show, but shame on me, right?
No problem.
So that being said, for those who don't know who you are, shame on them. Can you tell us a bit about who Carl Webster is? Well,
sure. Carl Webster, I just go by Webster. Kind of like Prince, Madonna, Sting, just need the one name thing. Have the website, carlwebster.com, the accidental Citrix admin. Been around Citrix for, almost 30 years now. Been in IT for about 41 years. But before IT, I was actually a professional tuba player. I was actually in school as a music major.
That's my favorite part about you, man, the tuba.
Yeah, and even worked at Walt Disney World the summer of 1976, bicentennial summer, as a member of the All-American College Marching Band. That was a really awesome summer. Had a fantastic time working at Disney World that summer. It was hot, lots of people enjoyed it.
That's I think you must be a strange person, because I don't know how many people say they enjoy Disney World, Disneyland, or Disney World. Which one did you say again?
Disney World.
Disney World. So the one in Florida, which is even worse than the California one. The hot summer in Florida at Disney, and you enjoyed it. That is one sick.
Had a blast.
Yeah.
Hey, man. I was 19 years old, single, women everywhere. What do you expect?
Oh, I don't know.
Height of the disco craze.
Oh gosh, did you have the flyaway collar and everything?
And the bell-bottom jeans, the platform shoes, and going out to the clubs. That's the way. I like it.
Yeah, I was 6 in those years, so. I remember 76. I actually have a good story I won't share with you guys on the podcast. But on July 4th, 1976, I had my own fireworks. I'll put it that way. Oh. So I've told you that story, haven't I, Carl?
No.
No, I'll tell you that one some other day.
Okay.
Here, I'm teasing everybody. But so if you know me well, you know what I did on July 4th, 1976. So anyway, so how do you go from a professional tuba player to a professional IT guy? How's that transition work?
Well, all right. So the tagline for my website is the accidental Citrix admin. And so if you look back over all 41 years, you see a lot of these quote unquote accidents. So I was going to the school to be a tuba major, because my dream job was to get into the United States Marine Corps Band, the President's Own station, Washington, D.C., assigned directly to the president. That was my dream.
Wow.
Then they reactivated a National Guard band, the 156th U.S. Army National Guard Band in Bossier City, Louisiana. I was the first recruit, so went off to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri in June of 1977 to be the only tuba player in this National Guard band at the time. When I got ready to leave basic training, well, I found out, believe it or not, the Army had messed up my orders. Because I was working toward a degree in music and I was a professional musician, I was what they called civilian qualified for my military occupational skill. So I was not going to have to go to AIT or advanced individual training. Wasn't going to have to go to the military music school. I was supposed to go from basic training and then just go home. Well, the Army messed up my orders, and they actually had me down for 1 year of active duty.
Oh, my.
Only supposed to be active duty for 8 weeks, for basic training. Well, my commanding officer, I called him and explained everything, and what had happened was the Army found their mistake, sent updated orders to basic training, but the orders had the same order number on them. And so whoever the clerk was got the new orders, saw they had the same number, and threw the new orders away. And so my commanding officer said, well, you just buy a ticket, you get back home. When you get home, the first thing you do is come to my house. And so I went to his house. He had a brigadier general there, to verify that I obeyed orders, and I returned home. He then, sent me to my house, which was about a half mile from his house, and there I sat. And then I called him up, said, hey, is it okay if I go get a job? I'm tired of just sitting around. He said, that's fine. I found a newspaper clipping for a job for an office clerk. I went, applied for it. They saw that I had worked my first year in college as a night auditor for a hotel. So they said, hey, we've got this new position. We're just testing it out. You'll be sorting checks for the bookkeeping department half a day, and then we'll train you in mainframes half a day. And it's a 90-day trial. If it doesn't work out, you're gone in 90 days. We'll pay you $400 a month. And I was just like, ooh, what do you do with $400 a month? I was like, yeah, I'll do it. The very next day, so I accepted the job. The very next day, I think we were attached to the 527th Combat Engineering Battalion, who then somehow found out that I was still technically active duty. So they called me and said, hey, you're still active duty. You report here. And I go, no, I'm sorry. I'm starting this job. Talk to my commanding officer. He authorized this. And so on September 27th, 1977, I started in IT. Wow. And so it was purely an accident that all of that transpired. And here I am, almost 41 years later and still doing IT.
Yeah.
And then I found out, you know what? IT pays more than music does.
Yeah. Well, when you play the tuba, I mean, if you're like I don't know, rock star, then you make a little bit more. But I think IT is the best job on the planet, right?
Oh, I love it. I enjoy it.
I tell you, like years ago, I came home from consulting and I was tired. It was about 10 o'clock at night. You get home from doing whatever, rebooting servers or whatever you were doing at night time, right? In the data center. And I get home, I'm tired. I pop my butt on the couch. I still have my coat on. I'm just sort of sitting there flipping through channels. I'm tired, right? And then nothing on TV. And finally, I come upon this Billy Joel interview. And my parents liked Billy Joel, and so I liked Billy Joel, and there's nothing wrong with Billy Joel. So I was like, I'll listen to this. And the first question they asked him that I heard was, hey, Billy, do you like your job? And he said, he goes, I love my job. I go to different places. I meet different people. They pay me really well, and they cheer for me when I'm done. And I thought to myself, you know what? I go to different places. I meet different people. They pay me pretty well. Now, I'm not getting paid Billy money, but I'm getting paid pretty well,
Yeah.
And but they don't cheer for me when I'm done. And nowadays they cheer for you when you're done. If you go do a session or something, they clap for you when you're done. So, it's sort of like full circle. You are a rock star, right? You get paid pretty well. You meet different people. You go to different places, and darn it, they cheer for you when you're done. You're as good as a rock star, in my opinion, right? And Billy's too.
Yeah.
So, and as far as accidents go, there's an old back to music. There's an old Paul Simon lyric. This is, incidents and accidents. And I've always thought that my life has always been a series, and I think anybody out there would probably agree, is a series of incidents and accidents, right? I was introduced to WinFrame because I just happened to be walking out of the office at the right time, and the lady that told us that gave us things to do said, hey, Doug, drop off this system board at this customer. And when I dropped it off, we started talking about mainframes, because I come from the mainframe world too, like you do. And this guy said, oh, you'll love this, Doug. And he handed me WinFrame. I took it home, and to this day, it's the greatest thing my eyes have ever seen. So, as far as other than my two kids, right? But those are the different, The first time you see the kids, they're the greatest, but they're dirty.
Yeah.
So, they're not really that great at that moment, right? They're great like a couple minutes later. Right?
The first time I held my youngest daughter, she had a blowout, and it went all over me.
Okay.
And I've been kidding her for 33 years now. That the first time I saw her, she gave me crap, and she's been giving me crap for 33 years.
That's great. Yeah, everybody could talk about that. I have horror stories about the kids, but they're the best. It's the best time you can possibly have, right? So,
yeah.
So that being said, so we move forward. It makes sense. You start off with mainframes. You introduce to Citrix. You sort of understand why this is a better way to compute, as I like to say. And then fast forward, can you bring us, how do you get into the modern Citrix world? Because you did take some time, not off, but, away from the Citrix world for a bit, and then you sort of resurfaced into this, accidental admin. How'd that process happen?
Well, I got introduced to Citrix back in like late March, early April 1990, when the company I was working for, we got asked to be an alpha tester for the original Citrix product, Multi-User OS2. And I supported that for years. And then, 2001, I went to work for myself. And then I don't know how people were finding me, because there was no Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, anything like that. But I started getting calls from people knowing that I supported that and still wanted me to support it. And so in August 2003, I finally just put my foot down and said, I'm not going to support this stuff anymore. Went to work for a consulting company, Allied Technology Group in Little Rock, Arkansas. And then I got a call from my boss one Friday. He said, hey, we got this big CPA firm in Little Rock, and they're going to be upgrading from MetaFrame 1.6 to MetaFrame XP. I see on your resume that you used to work with Citrix. So Monday night, you're going to be doing their migration for them.
I ran into that myself too.
I was like, what? What?
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
That's
how
how
I can do that.
And then I found this wonderful resource. There's some guy named Doug Brown that had like a methodology in a box, and I was able to follow that and actually figure out that, oh man, this new Citrix stuff running on, Windows 2000 is a lot different than multi-user OS2. And I'm glad that, that Doug Brown was around to lead me, into the new Citrix world back in 2003.
Yeah, those were fun days, man. I never hit WinFrame, although I can touch them. I am touching them right now. I have the WinView. I did WinFrame. The WinView, I never did WinView, but I have the WinView manuals. I have all the manuals in my bookcase. And but I didn't do that. I found WinFrame. And like I said, I jumped on. And so, documenting, like you have many, we'll get into your docs and your scripts next, but it was just always fun to do, to share how do you do this stuff, right? Especially in those days. Nowadays there's so much information. Back then we had no clue how to do it, right? And it didn't always work too. So, I mean, I wrote a lot of that, but as I always say, what you learn from others. So, there's so many people that help out and along the way to create things like that. So it was those were fun years for sure. So you so from there you nowadays, I want to get into some topics like, to start talking about, what your views on the different technologies today, but so fast forward many years and you start writing scripts and you're writing a lot of documents yourself and a lot of how-tos. But the scripts are really what people, they love I don't want to downplay either one of them, right? So, but let's talk about the script side. So the scripts people, you get so many downloads from these things. What are they? Can you tell us the story behind them? Why do we care? What are you doing?
Okay. Well, when I first started my website back in November 2008, so we're almost coming up on 10 years of carlwebster.com. And I need to do a shout out to Joe Harder, because without her and her encouragement back at the Citrix event that was at the Dolphin and Swan Resort in Orlando back in October 2008, without her encouragement, there would be no carlwebster.com. And so, thank you, Joe. So I originally started carlwebster.com because I kept getting asked to do more Citrix stuff. But I was mainly doing Active Directory, Exchange, SharePoint, SQL Server, and every now and then people would ask me to do a Citrix project. And so I started the website for me because I wanted to know how to do this. And so that's where all the original how-to articles. It's because I was actually sitting down in my lab trying to figure out how all this stuff worked and how all the pieces were put together. And so then I start the website, and a month later, I get a phone call from Doug Brown. Hey, dude, I really like what you're doing. Wait a minute, you're Doug Brown. Why are you calling me? So we get on that, and then all of a sudden, people start hiring me for jobs because, well, you've got this website, you're writing about Citrix, so you obviously must know what you're doing. And so in 2011, I take on a project for this company to fix some PS4.5 servers for them, get that going. And they say, hey, you still got several weeks left. We don't have anything documented in this environment. Can you document it for us? And I was just like, well, sure, I could do that. And then after I got off the phone with them, I was just like, crap. How do you document hundreds of servers and hundreds of applications when they have almost as many application silos as they do applications? How do you document all this stuff in like 6 weeks? And that's when I remembered seeing a Citrix blog article from Michael Bogovovitz, Citrix and PowerShell. So I got that, saw that, and started playing around with it. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, you can get all this information using this thing called PowerShell. And I had a mentor that really knew PowerShell, so he was helping me, with that very first script, which created basically a text document that I then copied and pasted into Word and then formatted everything, put on a cover page, table of contents, and all that stuff. And then they hired me a few months later to come back and do a XenApp 6 project for them. And we got that done, and they say, hey, can you document this the same way you did the other? So I created the XenApp 6 script. They hired me back a month later to do some XenApp 6.5 work for them in the same thing. Hey, can you document the XenApp 6.5 environment the way you did the other two environments? And that's where the XenApp 6.5 script came about. And then this is also where Jari and Gibson comes into play, because I never intended to ever release my documentation scripts. Never. Because I'm not a developer. I'm not a programmer. My code is as ugly as sin. But Jarian convinced me that, hey, you need to put this stuff out there, for the community. And I did that September 30, 2011 was when I first released the XenApp 6.0 script, and then shortly after that, the XenApp 6.5, and then the PS4.5 script, with the help of James Rankin in England, who was helping me do a 2008 version of the XenApp 5 script. And so the community asked for it, the community helped, and the scripts have just taken on a life of their own. I mean, there's like 20, 25 documentation scripts now.
That's cool. And you document more than just Citrix too, don't you?
Yeah. Microsoft Active Directory, DNS, DHCP. The community has developed scripts for the old SMS passcode. I can't remember the current name of the product. Then also Microsoft's Configuration Manager. Then the community has also helped with getting Netscaler, Netscaler that was done by Barry Schiffer, then Storefront by Sam Jacobs, then Netscaler Mass by the guy whose name I instantly forgot as soon as I said Mass. Anthony something. Sorry, Anthony. Completely forgot your name. So there's lots of scripts out there. I didn't create them all. I just have a framework, for generating Word, HTML, text output, and all these people have taken that on and used that framework to help create other documentation scripts, and then they've asked me to put them all on my site. And as of the end of May, all the scripts combined had just over 430,000 downloads.
That's insane, man. That's insane. I love it. And I love the community aspect of it too, because like I said, with Methodology in a Box way back when, I wrote probably 95% of that, but there was probably 5% that came in from other people, right? And that 5% is what, to me, was the biggest 5%, because it was the stuff I couldn't do or needed help with, or just, save me time to get the thing out, right? And that's what's great about a community, or what I call, the EUC community, the Citrix community. I think it's just amazing. And one of my jobs at iGel is, and the job I really enjoy most, and I think is probably the most important thing I can do for iGel and with iGel and for the people is building the iGel community, and giving some people a place to share their knowledge, because as computer nerds, so to speak, we want to share what we do because we love what we do. It's not a job to us. It's our fun. This is what I do on weekends when I have nothing else to do. Not when I have nothing else, when I'm not forced to do something else. It's what I choose to do. Right.
Yeah.
So,
one of the nice things I like, currently I'm a senior solutions architect for Choice Solutions, who is a platinum partner for iGel. But I do a lot of Citrix health checks and Active Directory health checks. And as I like to say, eat your own dog food, use my scripts actually at customer sites, gathering information, and then having to write up reports on the health of various customers' Citrix environments, Active Directory, DNS, DHCP. I find other things that need to be added, or I would, more information that I would like to have in the output. And so Choice actually allows me, to take time, company time, to actually enhance these scripts for all the community. So, it's a win-win situation. Choice allows me to do that. So Choice really, pushes me to participate more in the community on company time. So I appreciate them allowing me to do that. And then being an iGel partner, I'm creating an iGel documentation script.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That ought to be interesting.
And so I'm trying to get back. It's just Citrix won't slow down in their product releases, and just trying to keep up with all the updates to everything and trying to keep all the various documentation scripts up to date, for Server 2016 and Server 2019 and the changes coming to an Active Directory and DNS and DHCP, all the changes coming up. You take a look at, XenApp, XenDesktop 7.0, and then what we have now in 7.17. I mean, there are just so many enhancements to the products, so many new features and benefits and stuff, and trying to keep all the scripts updated with everything so that, people can run these scripts and get complete documentation, on their Citrix and various Microsoft products. Takes a lot of work, but it's actually fun. I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's what I do on the weekends. If I don't have anything else to do and my wife doesn't have any honeydews for me, I'm up here in my office in the lab seeing what else I can add to the scripts.
That's cool. Yeah, I like writing code. I mean, code is my favorite thing to do. I don't do it at all anymore. I have not done it in a while. If there's something I can figure out that I want to code, I've been writing lately. So, I wrote that another sort of how-to, screenshot by screenshot doc on how to install iGel. So, if anyone's out there listening,
and UMS, yeah.
In fact, you used it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you gave me good feedback on it, so I know you used it.
Yeah. Before I knew you didn't want me to do any grammar stuff, you gave me, I think, one of the first releases of the doc, and that's what I went through. And I had my iGel environment up and running in my UD3 client, that iGel sent me, connected to my XenDesktop lab in like 20 minutes.
That's great. Yeah, it's so simple to get up and running, it really is. If you know what you're doing, just like anything, right? If you don't know where to start, well, you don't know where to start. You just sort of spin your wheels. And the idea around, anything that we do is to sort of, to get to speed up the process of people getting up and running, give them the tools that they need. And then these guys are smart folks. So that from there, they can learn more and they can play around and they can have fun. But, get them started, right? Get them over the hump and then let them have fun. And that was sort of the goal with my doc within iGel. That was the goal for Methodology in a Box. You said you started your website to for yourself, and I started DABCC for myself and for the guys I worked with. But then the document was my documentation when I was a customer or when I was a consultant, and when I came to Citrix, I continued that because I found that people didn't know how to do it. Right, so if you can just get them over that hump, then they can in 20, 30 minutes, with MetaFrame back in the day, it took a lot longer than 20, 30 minutes. But for the most part, it's as quick as possible. Just follow along. You learn what you need to learn, and off you go. So anyone listening, I highly recommend, and I think Carl here does too, to download head over to igel.com/downloads and download the product for free. And play in and download when you download inside the download will be my doc too. It'll be a link to download the doc, and so download that and you'll have the whole thing up and running. And if you have any questions, email me, brown@igel.com, and I'll make sure you get answers. It's that simple. And you'll absolutely
or go join the iGel community Slack.
We're going to get to that one in a bit.
Okay.
Well, let's talk about it now. So what do you think about that? It's amazing. I'm a part of it. I'm biased. Okay. It's my, I'm biased, but I'm a part of a lot of communities. I think that the iGel community is the most active, fun community around today. Am I wrong? Do you know of any that are more?
Only the CTP Slack. Man, but
you guys have more messages than we do. We've done 10,000 messages in 4-5 months now.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Well, actually, I can because I'm on there.
Yeah.
I see all this stuff.
Yeah.
People asking questions, getting their questions answered, both from the community and from, IGL employees. I don't know what you call yourself, IGLites or IGLVs or something.
I don't think we have a name for it. We're just normal people from a really cool company. How's that sound?
Yeah, and so, it's nice being able to go into the community, answer questions. Hey, how do I do this? Or, hey, this isn't working right. Or, hey, I'm seeing this issue, and then actually get someone from the community or someone from IGEL to actually say, hey, yes, this is how you do this. This is how you would customize this. This is how you get done what you want done. Or, hey, yes, we know this is an issue and it should be fixed in the next, firmware release. So yeah, very active community, very helpful community. Yeah, I enjoy the IGEL Slack community.
I really do too. And I always joke with people, not only can you do everything Carl just said, but you can also learn about Webster's weight loss prevention program. We have a channel. I tried to make sure that everything was well organized. Like I said, we have 10,000 messages and, just over 5-6 months, just under 6 months. And in that and so in order to keep all these things organized, we have channels for everything, groups for everything within the bigger group, right? And so if it's a UMS question, you throw it to UMS. If it's let's say you have a request, there's a product request group, throw it in there. So everything's organized. It's not just a mess of unrelated, information. So in order to do that, because we like to chit chat, right? We like to have fun. We like to digress. We like to be geeks, So I created a group just called Chit Chat, Community Chit Chat, where you can just chat about anything. If it doesn't fit into a group, throw it there. If you want to talk about, what you're doing that weekend or how great Synergy was, throw it in there, right? And so Carl was talking about his weight loss program. And so I tell people about that one, Webster. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's fun. It's one of those things. So Choice has your typical health insurance stuff. Well, that, like most companies, they also have the health savings account, and Choice will put $1,000 into your account if you have an annual checkup. So I went to do an annual checkup last fall strictly to get the $1,000. And my blood pressure was so high, the clinic was not going to let me leave. It was so high.
Wow.
And so I made the decision that, this is not good. Having a blood pressure that high, weighing as much as I did at the time, I said, I have to make a change. And so if you want to make a change, it's kind of like if you set a goal, it's not a goal if it's not written down and other people know about it. Those are just daydreams. If you don't write down your goals, if you don't let people know your goals, they're just wishes. They're just daydreams.
I don't agree with that. I don't tell anybody my goals until I'm ready to release it. I hide what I'm doing. Methodology in a Box is a prime example. I worked on that thing for a year, Webster, and then I showed it to Dillinger. And Dillinger's like, what's this? I'm like, well, it's what I've been working on for a year. And then it has a bigger splash, right? You just have to be motivated.
Well, I think when you're trying to lose weight, it's helpful to let other people know.
Smoking's another one.
Yeah, so that you're not at Synergy scarfing down, the afternoon ice cream treats.
Oh, ice cream.
Yeah, I know my weakness. But people, you don't go around, scarfing down candy bars and eating ice cream and eating junk food while you're at the conferences, when a lot of your friends at the conference know that, hey, dude, you're supposed to be eating healthy. Aren't you trying to lose weight? Aren't you trying to drop your blood pressure? Aren't you trying to be more healthy? So why are you eating that crap? So that was why I went public with it, because I wanted people to hold me accountable to make sure, that I maintain my healthy eating and healthy living lifestyle that I would like to have now.
That's good.
Because when I go back next month, for my checkup, I want them to be able to go, wow, Webster, what have you done? Your blood pressure is normal. You've lost a lot of weight. You're a lot healthier looking. That's what I want to see.
You looked good last time I saw you. You looked younger.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm in the process trying to lose weight. My problem is I got to the age where I can't do it. It's like I don't care. I mean, I just keep gaining weight no matter what. But which is funny because in my early days I could eat McDonald's 8 times a day and not gain a single pound. If anything, I lost weight. And then I got to about 34, 35, and I'm 47 now, and I just gained weight like crazy. But so I have to watch every single little thing I eat. But I'm going to get there. I want one of the, I live in Europe now, so I want one of those cool little James Bond suits like the Europeans wear, They always look so sharp, You ever seen a European that doesn't look sharp?
Nah, man, even Christian looks sharp.
Yeah, well, he's a sharp boy all the way through and through, man. So he's for those listening, Christian Drilling, he always makes fun of me, or he doesn't make fun of me. Someday you'll learn how to pronounce my name properly.
That's why I didn't say it.
Yeah, Christian Drilling. But he's one of our uber smart kids. He reminds me of my friends when I was 30. Highly motivated, really, really smart, and really good guy to be around, fun and just highly motivated kid. I just absolutely love the guy. So really, really good people. That's what I love. I tell you, one of the things I love most about iGel is the people. The technology is great. I mean, it's second to none, right? I mean, there's not even a third. It's like, there's a fourth place. It goes from iGel to fourth place is next, right? But the people are just spectacular. It's really a great company. So that being said, let's get to, I want to throw you some topics.
Okay.
We've, a little bit of time left. So let's talk just about some tech stuff from a high level, the question about VDI versus, RDSH. In fact, Madden wrote an article. I'm going to be doing a podcast with Madden here in a little bit. Or I don't know when it gets posted, but we're doing one with you and one with Madden, which is really going to be fun. And I'm going to ask him the same question. He had wrote an article recently about RDS or VDI is winning RDS over RDSH. What do you think? What do you recommend? I guess it all depends, right? It depends upon what the customer wants and things like that. But what's your take on the differences between the two?
Both of them are viable because coming from a consulting viewpoint, it's what the customer needs to do their business for their users with their applications. And some of that is going to be most cost effective with RDSH, XenApp, and some of it will be most cost effective with VDI, virtual desktops. With XenApp, Zen Desktop or Horizon View. It depends. The typical answer, it all depends. Both of them have pros and cons. And so it all comes down to when you look at it and you test it in your environment with your applications, with your users, with your infrastructure, which delivers the best bang for the buck for you.
So here's a question for you. You do a lot of deployments and, see a lot of customers and things like that. And I've heard a lot that, what people are seeing and what I've seen myself is that, they buy, let's say Zen Desktop, but they're actually deploying XenApp. Right? Is that what you're seeing? Because I would have argued, and I will argue with Brian, not argue, but I'll say, I see the value of VDI. Obviously, I think it's a great way to compute, obviously. But what I see in reality is that more customers are not using VDI. They're using that more as the technology, and as the solution is more of a just deploying applications via something like a XenApp, and then VDI is more strategic. But that's solve certain. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do see a lot of people who are licensed for Zen Desktop, but all they use is XenApp.
And why?
I think it's just that's what they're comfortable with. That's what they used, for PS3 and PS4 and PS4 5 to XenApp 5, XenApp 6, XenApp 6.5. They're used to doing server-based computing. They're used to putting applications on a server and having multiple users access that. server, for those applications. And for them at that time, that was the most cost-effective way to do it and the easiest way to do it, man, because we really didn't have a good way to do, virtual desktops and, with central management and all that stuff. Yeah. But now I'm actually seeing in this year, seeing customers actually doing more Zen Desktop than they are Zen App. But again, it comes down because of the applications. They have applications that will only work, or the vendor in their license agreement, which most people ignore, but you shouldn't ignore them. When the license agreement specifically states we only support this application running on a non-server OS.
Yeah.
And there are applications like that. And there are applications, that say, hey, if you want to virtualize this application, we only support it in Zen App. We don't support it in AppV. We don't support it any other way. You want to use this application virtualized in Zen App. And then you have some are, nope, absolutely not. You can only run this on a desktop OS. And so in that instance,
VDI.
Yeah, you have people who are doing, Windows 7 and Windows 10, more Windows 7. People are, dipping their toes in the water on Windows 10 only because Microsoft is making it so freaking difficult, to do user management and user profile management with Windows 10. So most people are staying with Windows 7 because, the start menu is easier, profiles are easier, things are easier on Windows 7. They're not even caring about, the end of life date. They're looking at, this is easy. Microsoft, you're making Windows 10 too difficult. So, but I'm seeing more and more people actually go toward VDI and only using Zen App now for the fringe cases, where before it was the reverse.
Yeah.
It was Zen App and Zen Desktop only for the fringe cases.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I think that, and you're right, it's the line of business apps. It's those applications that they're deploying, and then they're given a desktop. And I think that, it's a cost issue, right? It was before VDI wasn't there, we're starting to build brokers. Now we have all these great storage solutions and hyperconvergence and, all these technologies that came around to create or to make VDI a reliable, viable solution. Right. And in return, a better way to compute. And then as we're seeing the migrations from, the endpoints, from Windows 7 to Windows, XP to 7 and then 7 to 10, we're starting to see a lot of people moving into thin clients too, right? Or what traditionally called the thin clients, because they're able to, with VDI, you don't need two desktops. If you remember back to 99, if those listening, when Citrix came out with Seamless Window, it changed things because now you can deploy applications down to the Windows desktops that we were all using. Before Seamless Windows, we had to deploy a session desktop, right? And the problem there was you ended up with two desktops. And the users who are not computer people, do not want to be computer people, are like, well, I don't understand. I have two desktops. Which desktop I'm in? This desktop is this info, and this has this info, and they're not the same. And I'm confused. And oh my God, I hate my life. And IT sucks, right? And that's not the way it is anymore. And so in return, you can go with what I call secure access point. Reduce the costs there. Give a better way to deploy a desktop anywhere, anyplace, anytime. And it's a great solution. I think that's why you're seeing someone like Citrix coming out with this Raspberry Pi thing that they have, because they see that that'll help lower the cost of adoption into VDI, and it only makes sense. It's back to the mainframe idea, right? We finally are getting our dumb terminals, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like we've almost come full circle. I mean, back, with the IBM mainframes, it was, you had a cable that went to a very expensive dumb terminal.
Yeah. And
that dumb terminal could either do green text or amber text, or if you could afford it, you got one with 4 colors.
I don't remember that. I remember my mainframe had, I think I had amber text. No, I had both. I had a Televideo 610 or a 910, a white box. I love that terminal so much. I love that terminal. It's my favorite little device in the whole wide world.
Yeah, but I mean, well, back in the old multi-user OS2 days, just about everyone used Wise V60 terminals. Because they were dumb, they were cheap. You put a serial cable behind it, put that thing up at 38,400 baud, and man, you were flying.
Yeah.
But now, people are demanding more from their thin clients. They want to be able to do more. They want 2 monitors. They want 3 monitors. They want 4 monitors. They want to be able to do Skype for Business. They want to be able to do, real-time audio and video. And that's where, I think iGel is really has a strong suit in the clients that they do offer because you have all that capability in there, in the hardware. And then you pair it with this awesome software. The software to me is what makes iGel, the software is the awesome sauce.
It's amazing. It's the UMS and you're a guy that, I mean, you might have known about iGel prior, but had you played with it prior to, to me really introducing it to you?
No.
And when you, so when you did, did you, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I don't know how else to say it. Were you like, wow, what is this?
I was, because I was just like,
I was too.
Oh, wait a minute. I just did this whole thing in like 20 minutes and I'm up and running, and I didn't have to have a PhD, in, a device manager software, and I didn't have to go and do all this inventory stuff, and I didn't have to create images and push images down. No, I just did a profile and said, hey, we're going to connect to my Zen desktop site. Here's my storefront information, and here's my domain. And when I turned on the client, it connected it. I came up with my logon. I logged on and poof, there was all my stuff. And I was just like, no, wait a minute. It's not supposed to be this easy.
Yeah,
this isn't a Staples commercial. Where's my, where's my easy button? It was actually that easy. Now that's the easy part. The other part, no, there's no hard part. There's not as easy, but I mean UMS. I mean, there's like over 7,000 configuration options you can have. For Zen app and Zen desktop and Horizon and Parallels and RDS and what in there, GE or something.
Oh, there's stuff in there I don't even realize that's in there. I mean, I'm still, I've been with the company a year and a half, and I'm still learning stuff, which is, I'm like, we can do that? Like, you didn't know that? I was like, no, man, there's 7,000 configurations. I haven't gotten through all of them yet,
Yeah. Of course, that's the thing, coming up with the documentation script for that. I'm just like, crap, I got to document how many settings?
It's good. The thing is, though, the thing about it is, you have 7,000 settings because you have all those possibilities. You're never going to do all that, right? I mean, half. I wouldn't say half, but there's so many of these settings that are what we call sessions. Like you mentioned, connecting to Citrix or Horizon. And what we see today is that you have customers that have multiples. They maybe are getting an app from a vendor or something. They're using VMware but the customer's using Citrix, so they have them both, or whatever, right? It's a little bit
and you said Citrix or Horizon.
Yeah.
But you can actually have Zen desktop and Horizon.
Yeah. And of course, local or remote, web-based applications. You can bring those down. I mean, you can do anything, and it's like I said, guys listening, please try it out. I don't want to turn this into an iGel commercial because that's definitely not. I wanted to bring Webster on and chat about tech, but try it out. I mean, I think you'll be impressed as impressed as Webster is, and as I am too. I mean, you know me, I'm about as honest as they come. I don't blow hot air at anybody.
Hey, so I'll take you back. So here's how I feel about the iGel devices in the iGel management software and the firmware capabilities and stuff like that. I'm going to take you back to 1976.
Sweet.
That's the way. I like it.
Carl, you're a one interesting man. So what do you think? So Citrix has the Pi stuff, and what do you have you looked into it much? What do you think about it? What do you how does that compare with, what iGel's doing, or let's say, Dell Wise, or, I don't want to make it an iGel commercial. So, where do you see that thing fitting in? What's your views there? What do you think Citrix is doing?
To be honest, I don't know. I have a Raspberry Pi. I haven't done anything with it. I know that Tobias, fellow CTP that works for Northern Arizona University, he's really much into the Raspberry Pi. But then again, he's a Linux person, and just like iGel, based on Linux. I believe the Raspberry Pi is also based on Linux. But I don't know, me, I haven't really gotten into it, mainly because I haven't seen any of our customers even express an interest in the Raspberry Pi.
Interesting.
I'm sure there are probably universities or maybe hospitals or some other entities out there that are looking at it, but I haven't seen any of Choice's customers saying, hey, will you check out this Raspberry Pi and show me how it works and what we can do with it and stuff. I haven't seen it.
I like what Citrix is doing in the sense that I think it's great that they understand the value, and they're sharing the value of, hey, we have VDI, and why would you use the traditional? I like to describe it as, why would you use a 1980s operating system that's retrofitted every couple years and patched every Tuesday for a solution like this? That doesn't make sense. What you want is, to drive down costs. What you want is a better user experience. What you require is the things you mentioned earlier, like the graphics and the video and the Skype and, ease of computing, right? And I think that's the story that Citrix is telling. I love that story because that's my story. Right. That's what we're saying, so, to me, I obviously I care by iGel. Right. But, I think it's more important that to be honest and say, I just want someone to understand that you don't need Windows. Now there are people within an organization that are best with Windows or a Mac, right? Don't take my Mac away. I will come after your children. Okay. So, and you don't want me coming after your children. You don't want that.
You couldn't feed my daughter.
So, what do I say? But it's but there are a good chunk of people within an organization, and even those people with a Mac, for example, would like the UD Pocket USB. You can pop that thing in and turn your Mac into a, completely managed and secure endpoint, and, deal with GDPR, deal with security, deal with just giving a guy an easy way to compute, because at the end of the day, our users don't give a crap about what you and I care about. You know what I mean?
That's true. They don't.
What they care about is that I have to make an Excel spreadsheet today. And they don't even say Excel. They say, darn it, I have to make a spreadsheet today. So I always like to say we're in IT, but all we care about is the technology. We forget about the information, and that's what the users want. They need to deal with creating information. And we in IT, we don't even think about information. We just think about technology. So we're far away from the source, or from our goals. And if you're wise and you're good, you start thinking about how can we better deliver information. I think that's that's what I like about the Pi, is that Citrix is saying, hey, there is a better way to compute, and it's a complete stack, right? And the stack does not end at the receiver; it ends at the the device. And I think that, of course, I think iGel has the best devices, but that's
when I got started in mainframes, the departments, we were actually called IS. We were Information Services.
Oh, interesting.
We were a service organization. We were the department within the bank that allowed people to get access to their data for them to do their business. Their business is banking. Their business is opening checking and savings accounts, certificates of deposits, making loans, making money. They don't care about the underlying technology. All they care about is, I have a job to do. Our business is banking. Our business is not technology. Technology is what we use to allow us to not only serve our employees or our team members, but it allows us to serve our customers who are coming to us to either give us money to hold for them or to request money that then we would then loan to them. That's our business. We don't care about servers or cabling or what application. No, the now information technology department is more concerned about technology in saying no, and we can't do that, rather than realizing that we're actually a service. We're here to actually serve the employees so the employees can serve the customers. And we should be the ones finding ways to use technology to allow our fellow team members for the company we work for to serve our customers. If we in IT were to come around and start calling ourselves information services instead of information technology, we would be more of a service department where we serve, because we're here to serve and help, not always say, no, this can't be done.
Yeah. And especially in today, you and I are both old, so we remember the days when, you could, I loved it. I always tell the story, and I tell this almost every time I present, because it sets the story well, right? Is that in the early days, we were all nerds, that started on these computer things, back when there were 3 people in computer class in high school, and they had the greasy hair. And anyway, then we become IT admins, and we get to tell the popular kids what to do. No, you do not get that nice laptop. We'll give you this one because you weren't nice to us.
Yeah.
So, we got to tell people what to, we didn't do that, but that's, I exaggerate, but still, we were in charge. You get this and you don't get that. The world changed, now no longer do we do that. Now we facilitate the user. You don't put up roadblocks to the user do their job. You facilitate, what they want, because, in the old days, they didn't have computers at home the way they do now. Nowadays, everyone has 4 or 5 devices at home. And so we have to work with those devices and the way they already work. We have to fit into their mold. They don't have to fit into our mold. And that's, right. I think, the biggest change that's really happened, the cultural change that's happened in technology, or, information systems, or back when I started, it was called MIS, right? Management Information Systems. And my dad was an MIS director, I remember. And nowadays they call it IT. So, whoever, we should research and figure out who called it to IT and send the guy hate mail.
Oh. Or girl. Yes.
Well, yeah. I use the word guy. When I say guy, it's like slang to me. It's neutral. It's not a guy like in a man. It's a person. It's my slang for person. So, which it's totally true. And then when I do say that to a girl, I think to myself, oh, I wonder if they understand what I'm saying. Nah, that's me. They'll get it. So, okay, we talked about the community piece, secure endpoints. What about DaaS? What do you think? What do you think about DaaS? You're starting to hear some rumblings about it.
Mostly rumblings. I know there has to be some companies out there doing something with it, or else you wouldn't have, Amazon and Google and Microsoft in alphabetical order, busting their rear ends trying to get all this, stuff working in the cloud. And I'm sure there are CTPs out there doing, DaaS stuff in the cloud. I have yet to see it.
Yeah, in the SMB space, I think that DaaS is still ways away for the customers you're dealing with, right? I think that when I look at DaaS, I ask the first question. My first question is, okay, I have a question for you, and that is, why did we deploy Citrix in the first place? And they usually look at me sort of, what do you mean? And I say, okay, back in the day, we deployed Citrix for a reason. What was? And they said, remote access. Okay, yeah, you're right. And why? Because we could put the app where the data was. So in return, when you opened up Outlook and you open up that Excel spreadsheet or your CRM application or whatever, it opened up, bang, like that, right? Because the app was sitting next to the data. And and I think that is the biggest reason we did it, right? And it gave us a better way to compute. It gave us anywhere, any place, anytime computing. It gave us all sorts of benefits from that simple idea of putting the app where the data is over a protocol that would allow you to go and do that anywhere, any place, anytime. Now with DaaS, fast forward to DaaS, where's our data? Our data sit in local and we want to put our desktop in the cloud. Well, that sort of goes against that theory that I have, right? And I think that what we're seeing is DaaS working great in the startups. If you're a startup, although a lot of startups are just going with, Office 365 and local machines and everything's all fine and dandy for these people. Or Google Suite, right, is very popular too. Can't forget that one. Yeah. But, in the businesses, they want to have a little bit more control. They might have Windows apps. They want to, secure that GDPR, blah, 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 blah. So then, in those environments, when you start fresh, yeah, DaaS is a great solution. You can put the data there. You can put the app there from day one. As we move, into the enterprise, well, we have a lot of data. So we need to get that data up there. But I think the reason you mentioned the three big boys, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, not in alphabetical order. What we're seeing today is that these enterprises are bursting our data up to the cloud. We are backing our data up to the cloud. And I think we're going to see a Novell day. And when I say by Novell day is one day we're going to wake up and realize, hey, we have two, directory services. Should get rid of one. Which one should we get rid of? Well, get rid of Microsoft. Or which one's better? Novell's better. Well, get rid of Microsoft. We can't. Why? Because our apps require it. Okay, then get rid of Novell, but it's better. Well, get rid of it. We don't need two. And I think it's going to be the same story where they're going to wake up and say, why do we have on-prem? Our data's up there. Everything's up there. Let's just move up there. And then that'll give us a, OpEx versus CapEx spending model. It'll give us subscriptions, which we're moving to a subscription economy. It'll allow, us to get away from managing hardware and all sorts of stuff that we shouldn't be managing in today's, in the future. And things like that, and allow IT people or IS people to get back to serving and not concentrate on building and troubleshooting, right? And I think that's when DaaS will take off. I don't think there's going to be a year of DaaS. I think there's going to be a decade of DaaS, where in the end we're going to end up with, everything being cloud delivered in some way, shape, or form. And then at that point, back to the sort of what I call secure endpoints, other people might call thin clients. At that point, you can use a device like that, or devices will change. Maybe, there'll be devices like what you think of a traditional iGel device today, or a thin client today, or it's your telephone, as Chris Fleck called it, the Nirvana phone, which you don't doubt, Chris, Yeah. And I think I think it's the smartest thing he ever said in a world of extremely smart things the man has said, is that the Nirvana phone, you pop that in, that's your device, right? So, but at the same time, you got to manage all those things. And if you don't have some great management, you're in trouble. So, DaaS is going to take a little bit of time, but it's coming. It's coming, in my view. So.
Yeah. Well, if you look back over the history, we had mainframes, then we had server client, then we had the N-tier, then we had the multi-user, then we, evolved into the networking. And about the time each of those really gets mature, something else comes along. And so now we're going from, the networking into the cloud, and probably, 10 years, 15 years in the future, once the cloud is really mature, something else will come after the cloud, because there's always something else. You have brilliant people out there thinking about things that are way off in the future, and they're in some Microsoft or IBM or Oracle research lab looking at things that we're going to be using 25, 30 years in the future.
What can come after the cloud, though? The moon? Hey, maybe we go back. Maybe at that point it just all runs on firmware on a device, right? The chip planted in your body or something. I guess you're probably right.
We'll go to neural networks or something.
When I was a junior engineer, I was teamed up with a senior, and those listening to me or that have been listening to this podcast, you probably heard about me talk about the senior because he definitely changed my life. And we would drive around Iowa going from, customer to customer, and we did a lot of work out in rural Iowa. So we'd have these 2-hour drives, and he'd always teach me stuff. And then when he gets sick of teaching me stuff, we talk about, the future of technology, which was always so much fun because we talked about what happens once we saturate wireless. I remember this one really well. Do we start sending the waves through the earth, because the earth will transfer, because the sky will be saturated. Then what, and this would have been a good conversation for those drives. What happens, after the cloud, right? And because at first when you said it, I thought to myself, there's nothing after the cloud, but that's such a naive statement,
There's always something after whatever is the current new trend.
Carl, we're about out of time, but you've mentioned CTPs a lot, and I want to ask you this because you're a very proud CTP, and so I sort of wrote down what's the value of the CTP. I think that's completely the wrong way to phrase it. But I don't know maybe you could just describe the CTP program to us and, what you guys get out of it. If somebody wants to be a CTP, what do they need to do? What is that whole thing about?
Okay. Well, I love being a CTP. And last October, Citrix honored me with a Lifetime Achievement Award, along with 4 others. And we became CTP fellows. So Citrix technology professionals are people who are very passionate about the Citrix, the company, Citrix, the products, Citrix, the various protocols, how we want to make Citrix a better company. We are pushing Citrix to deliver better products, and we are pushing Citrix management to be better, to recognize the contributions that the overall Citrix community can deliver. People who call us marketing shrills have absolutely no clue what a CTP is. We are not marketing shrills. Because if you've ever heard me rip into Citrix because of, in the past their crappy PowerShell or their pathetic documentation, or their botched upgrades or, botched, processes and stuff. I did a session one time, Synergy 2013, that there were several people from Citrix HQ in the audience, and they went up to the lady in charge of CTPs, Perrine Crampton, and told her to shut me up.
I remember when you went to where were we? We were in South Carolina, and remember that? It's like you have to watch out. You can't bash it too much.
Yeah,
that was coming from me.
Yeah. We are CTPs. While we love Citrix and we love the Citrix products, we do our best to make sure Citrix gets better than they are. We want them to be better than they are. We want the company to be better. We want management to be better. We want the products to be better. We want testing to be better. We want development to be better. And boy, do we want documentation to be better. And boy, do we want PowerShell to be better, or the APIs to be better. We want the Citrix Cloud stuff to be better. And we are ripping into Citrix all the time about all this stuff. So if someone wants to be a Citrix technology professional, they have to be someone who is committed, is passionate about Citrix. They're active in the community. You could be the most knowledgeable person about Citrix, about the products, about the technologies, about how everything works together and fits together. But if no one knows who you are because you don't share your knowledge either through answering questions on various support forums or, writing articles, having a blog or being involved with the Citrix user group community, CUGC, mycugc.org, if you're not posting stuff on there, if you're not, putting stuff out on, bm.com or dabcc.com, if you're not speaking at various community events or the E2EVC events or Synergy events or other events, if people don't know you exist because you don't share, then you're not really a community member. Because being a CTP, being a CTA, a Citrix Technology Advocate, is all about sharing and caring. Yeah. It's not about, what you're going to get in return, but it's about how we can serve the community and how we can serve Citrix so that Citrix becomes better and the products becomes better. And I'll always say it, and hopefully the documentation becomes better.
Yeah, documentation's in it. That's
that's what we are here for.
Yeah, well, I had this inside Citrix, inside Agile, everything. The thing is that a company can only document in a certain way because of the legal liability at the end of the day and how they do things. The community is always going to be able to do things that a company can't do. It's just it's the nature of the beast. And so I'll stick up for the documentation team, the publications groups within any corporation. You'll find the same problem across any corporation. It's not just Citrix. It's not just it's not anybody. It's everybody, and it's the nature of the beast. And these guys do a great job with what they have and what they can do. They're I would not want to work in the pubs program or publications group within a corporation.
But who has really, really, really good documentation?
Who's that?
VMware.
Interesting.
VMware has some of the best documentation, best information out there by far.
VMware.
Of course, Microsoft does too. Especially now that they've open sourced, their documentation, you can actually, if you see something wrong, you can actually, crowdsource it. You can actually go out there and say, this is wrong, the grammar's wrong, or you left out this piece of information and put it out there and, submit it. And if it gets approved, then boom, hey, you just helped improve Microsoft's documentation.
Yeah. Yeah, what do I say? Carl, thank you so much. I don't know what to say. I always feel weird calling you Webster, but it's always fun when I'm around a group of people that don't know you and they'll say Webster and they're like, what, Webster? You mean Carl? Yeah, so I think I call you a little bit of all of the above. I like to call you Mr. Webster.
Oh.
Mr. Webster.
No, Christian Riley, CTO Citrix, gave me the only proper title, Lord Webster.
Oh, that's a little bit too much. I love it, man. I love it, Lord Webster. So I will put that in the podcast. I'll put that in the title, podcast with Carl the Lord Webster. How's that one?
That works for me.
You ever meet James Davis? Do you know James by chance?
No.
So James is an old friend of mine. Many of you guys probably laugh, not laughing, but some big smile on your face when you hear the name James Davis. And James and I worked at Citrix together, and then I've been friends with him ever since. I met him my second week at Citrix, and he's just a downright great guy. And at Synergy or iForum back in the day, you could when you fill out your badge, you can put in the name you want on the badge, right? So it doesn't have to, they just don't go after your name. That you can put anything on there. So he would always put James, quote, the one, in quote, Davis. So next year you need to put Lord Webster on your badge.
Well, believe it or not, that's how Webster came about. Because they would say, what's your first name? What's your last name? What do you prefer to be called? And I go, last name's Webster. What do you prefer to be called? Webster. And on my badge, like for Tech Ed or Ignite or Synergy, my badge would come out Webster.
Interesting.
And so that's why in most of the Slack channels, I'm Webster.
Huh. That's cool.
But yeah, I have to do that for Summit and Synergy next year. I have to put Lord Webster.
Please do, and I'll come see. I always say I'll run into you always. Well, you come to my events too,
Yeah.
Nowadays we have happy hours every year. So if you're coming to VMworld, we'll have a happy hour, IGL Community Happy Hour, which is great. Come and hang out with us. We always have fun. We drink a bunch of beer. We talk tech. We talk whatever you want to talk about. You want to talk about Carl's weight loss prevention program? I'm pretty verbose in that nowadays. I'm well educated in Carl's weight loss prevention program. It's not weight loss prevention program. That's completely wrong, right? It's weight loss. That's preventing weight loss. Yeah. That's Doug Brown's version, the weight loss prevention program. So I completely say that wrong, but I guess it's a Freudian slip. Okay, my friend, you take care of yourself. I will let you go, and I will call this an episode. Is there anything we forgot? Anything? Do you have any recommendations? Is there's any cool books you read or any cool websites you visited? Anything that you would want to, be like a last word you would want to share to turn people on to something really neat?
Always grow, always learn, always read, always improve, always be better tomorrow than you are today.
Oh, that's nice. I don't know how to do that. You're going to have to write that down. How to achieve that is the goal now. I just try to just wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
Actually, my problem is going to sleep at night because back to I love what I do is I don't want to go to sleep. So I sit down in front of my computer, the last thing I do, and I can't quit. So that's the best part about being in Berlin is I go to bed on time. So now I digress. Okay, my friend, thank you so much for taking the time. I can't believe we'd never had you on. We'll have to have you back on again. And thanks for all the kind words you say about IGEL and all the things you've done with us too. So Webster came to our Disrupt conference. We have IGEL has an EUC conference we just started this year. We'll have another one next year. So if you guys can join, it's a lot of fun. We had Madden there, we had Carl there, we had Greenberg there, we had a bunch of folks there, and it was really awesome. We had a bunch of great European CTPs and old guys that Citrix now forgot that they did many things to help them grow that were there and things like that. So just great group of folks. So Carl, thank you so much for everything you do for the community and for me personally. It's been fun knowing you for many years now, my friend.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the kind words and thank you for having me on.
Hey, thank you. Okay, that concludes another successful episode of DABCC Radio. As always, I want to thank my guest for today, Carl Webster. Good old Webster, good old Mr. Webster, good old Lord Webster. I had fun chatting with Carl. He's a good guy, a really, really good guy, and he loves what he does and the passion. This is what I love about folks, or about people, is I love their passion. And if you have passion, then you're a friend of mine. If you don't have passion, then, man, find something that you're passionate about and go and do it. Because when you have that, well, you got everything. And Webster definitely has passion about what he does, and that's what's one of the many things that's great about the guy. So he's a good person. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. It's always fun to chat with folks like him. So what else do I say? But thank you all for listening to DABCC Radio. I hope you enjoy it. Check out what DABCC is doing, dabcc.com. For everything, really, IT news, support, resources. Definitely check out with the IGEL doc that Carl talked about also. I think you guys will like that. Just head over to dabcc.com. On the right side of the page is the big logo, or better yet, go to Carl's website. Go to carlwebster.com and go to scripts download, and right in the middle of the page, you'll see a big banner for my book and the download the free licenses, and away you go. You guys will have a lot of fun with it, and then you'll see what Webster's talking about and how simple and easy it is. So it's just fun stuff that solves problems. So it's not fun if it's not solving problems. It's funny, when I joined IGEL, I told the CEO of the company that did not know me, did not understand how I talk or my way of thinking, and he asked me why I wanted to join IGEL, and I said, because I want to have some fun. He looks at me like, fun? What are you? We're working. This is not fun. We're working. Well, to me, having fun is working and having success and working with passionate people and playing with great stuff. So, what else do you say? We're rock stars. We go to different places. We meet different people. They pay us pretty good, and they cheer for us when we're done. I hope you have the same. On that note, thank you all for listening to DABCC Radio.
CC?
DABC.
Say it again. DABCC.
DABC.
Can you say it again? DABCC.
DABC.
How about DABCC?
DABC.
DABCC.
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 DABCC.